Hello and welcome back to the Be Wild vlog. I've been sitting in my kitchen this evening, smoking my cigar and just reminiscing on some of the stories from my neighborhood when I was growing up as a child. And there are a lot of stories. So this might become a bit of a series. Maybe I will call it Tales of Tremorfa. And if anybody has any tales of Tremorfa that they'd like to remind me of or share with me, then please do. And I will be more than happy to tell the story. So the story that I'm going to tell you today is a very sad one that ends with a man losing his life. It ends with a family losing their father, their husband, their son, their brother. And it ends with a lot of guilt and a lot of regret. I'm glad to say that this story doesn't involve me in any way, shape, or form. But it does involve people that I knew very well. So please try to keep up whilst I avoid using anybody's names. I don't mean to offend anybody and I don't mean to be disrespectful. I also apologize if I get any of the finer details wrong. But sometimes to tell a story, if you weren't there, you only know the things that were passed around as gossip and you can't necessarily know the facts. So I'm going to tell this story the way that it's told in the neighborhood, and I'll do my very best job of it. We were renowned in Tremorfa for throwing eggs at cars, for throwing eggs at houses, for throwing eggs at people. I threw eggs. I got caught throwing eggs and dragged back to somebody's house and forced to clean the egg off their house, whilst my friends watched from the street corner and laughed. I got caught because I'd let my friend ride my bike while we were walking and he threw the egg. And even though I was the fattest one in the group, he didn't give me my fucking bike back. He was the fastest one in the group and he rode off on my bike and left me. Anyway, as I said, this is not about me. Uh, we were renowned for throwing eggs, but we also threw rocks. I remember Splot Park is a railway line, and we used to play up on the railway line. One of the things we used to like to do as kids was we get 2 pence pieces, 2 pennies, and we'd line them up along the track, or we'd get rocks and we'd line them up along the track. With the pennies, the train would come and because it was going into the steelworks, they would go real slow, 5 mile an hour limit, and it would squish the pennies to basically it would just melt them into the track. And we're fascinated by that. And with the rocks, it would go over the rocks and it would turn the rocks to just complete dust. And we thought that was brilliant. But there was a period that I remember that certain boys that I was playing with out in the streets, we would be up on that train track and we'd go to the bridge and certain people would throw rocks off the bridge at cars, knowing full well the damage that it would do to the cars, the cost of the damage that it would do, knowing the potential risk to the people in the cars and the people just in the area in general. But people still did it. So then there was a time on the street that I grew up on, Maddock Road, Mad Dog Road. Maddock Road had two ends to it with a road going through the middle. And up at the top end, it bent around and there was a lane. The lane went, I don't know, about 200 yards. And it came out right on the main road by all the shops, the chip shop, the corner shop. There was a hairdressers, a bakery, and the butchers. So there was a group of young kids, and they were hanging out at the end of the lane, all hoods up and hiding themselves. And the cars were going past, and they were throwing rocks at the cars going past, knowing that by the time that car would had a chance to brake and look and see what was going on. They could have run that 200 yards and been back on Maddock Road, and they could have either scarpered or they could have pretended that the kids had gone elsewhere and it was nothing to do with them. So they felt invincible. One of these young kids threw a stone at a car, and the man driving the car thought, I know what I'll do. I'm not just going to stop because they will be gone. He came up with the idea to just keep driving, wait till he was out of sight, turn around, drive back, park up, and walk into the lane to catch these kids. So that's what he did. He drove off, he turned around, came back, parked up, just a few yards away. And then he gets out of his car, he walks up towards these kids in the lane, and he's on them. Which one of you threw the stone at my car? But they just managed to escape. They scarpered, but he's chased them through the lane. He's given chase. They're running, bam, gone. And these little kids, they're fast, so he's struggling to keep on them, but he knows that it's these kids that threw the stone at his car. So he's legging it through the lane, gets out into the street, into Maddock Road. The street opens out. They get out of the mouth of the lane, and he catches one of the kids. Whether it was the kid that threw the stone or not, I don't know. But he caught one of the kids. So he caught this kid, and he's saying, which one of you threw the stone at my car? Which one of you? And from what I was told, he had the kid in a headlock. Now, bear in mind, this is a grown man, and this is a young child. So this grown man has got the kid, and he's saying, which one of you was it? And on the street at the time was some of the boys that were more my age and older. And we were young men at this point, cutting our teeth in the streets, as you could say. So one of the boys who I knew, he was a few years older than me. Quite frankly, he was a bit of a bully. I didn't like him an awful lot. Not many people did in my age group, because he was older and he would try to cut his teeth by pressuring us and making us feel lesser because he couldn't get away with that with the boys of his own age. However, on this day, I don't necessarily think that what he did was intentionally to be a bully. It was just his instinct that took over. So he's come over to this man who's got a little kid in the headlock, and he's saying, get off him, he's a kid. And he's like, no, he threw a stone at my car, he's damaged my car, I want to know who his parents are. He's like, just get off him, you're strangling him. And he's like, no, I'm not letting him go. And the boy said, if you don't let go of that child, I'm going to punch you in the face. And the man didn't let go of the child. He kept him in the headlock. He kept screaming. Everybody's panicking. Everybody's freaking out. The kid's crying. The kid's screaming. The kid wants to get away. And the boy who I knew, he did. He punched him straight in the face. Whack! The man dropped. He fell straight back. And sadly, where he landed, his head hit the curb. Pool of blood. He's not conscious. People call for ambulance. The ambulance come. The boy that hit him didn't flee the scene. He waited. The police came and took him away. And sadly, 3 or 4 days later, that man died in hospital from his injuries. He died leaving behind children. He died leaving behind a wife. You can't bring that back for them. And I can't even begin to imagine the impact that that had on their family and them as children. So the man died from one punch in the face. One punch is all that it takes. So what happened to the boy that punched him? He went to court, and I believe he pled guilty to a manslaughter charge. During the court case, the judge looked at the evidence and somewhat took favor on the factors surrounding the situation and showed some leniency. And from memory, the boy did, I believe, 2 years in prison or 2.5 years in prison before he was released and allowed back into the community. For a little while, he wasn't allowed back into the area of Tremorfa. He wasn't allowed anywhere near it. But there was an an instance where he was allowed to meet with the family of the person that had passed away, the man that he killed. And I was told, in fact, he told me this, that the courts had facilitated it so that he could meet with this man's family in a church. They'd wanted to meet to be able to get closure and to somewhat be able to forgive. And he wanted to meet them because he wanted closure and because he was genuinely sorry and had regret. And I think that it's a very dark story. It's a very unfortunate set of circumstances. And the person to blame really are the kids who were throwing the stones. But it does go to show that sometimes you think that you're doing the right thing, but it can turn out to have lifelong consequences for you and other people around you. Yeah, it's a very real story, isn't it? With very real consequences. Many people in that story thought they were doing the right thing, they thought they were doing a good thing. And unfortunately, it turned out that that wasn't the case. With that being said, I'm going to log off. Thank you for listening. Please like, please subscribe, all that sort of jelly. And until next time, be good, be safe, and be wild. Loves you. Ta-da!